pleasure to be here today with you all. I hope that we can contribute to the open discussion on the issues raised in relation to the court, but clearly, as lawyers for Mr. Selimi, we cannot discuss in any way, shape or form the case itself. I should also say we're here with Mr. Geoffrey Roberts, who is another one of my eminent and very learned co-counsel. So I'm going to make 3 points. I'm going to raise 3 issues with you today. The first one, and I apologize if I cover some ground that's previously been covered, is to do with the recent allegations made by Mr. Dick Marty, that elements of the Serbian secret services planned to assassinate him and falsely blame his murder on Kosovo. I raise that because it's my suggestion that there should be a full investigation into these claims as part of a wider international investigation into whether the Kosovo Specialist Chambers itself was created, in fact, on a false basis. The nature and timing of the Marty allegations appear to strongly suggest a sinister collusion between elements of the Serbian and Russian secret services. And it's very important when you consider them not just to look at the individual recent allegations, but to look at the pattern of allegations and the bigger picture, because it's a much bigger picture. The history of events from the 1998 Cafe Panda massacre in Peja in Kosovo to the provision of the 2008 false narrative over the KLA organ trafficking, which led to the Council of Europe's Marty report, then goes on to the more recent December 2020 Marty allegations that Kosovo was to be falsely blamed for his own murder. These are sensational but very serious allegations which need to be properly investigated. I would suggest they need to be the subject of a transparent, independent, international investigation to discover the truth. In the same way that when, with the Hariri investigation case before the Special Tribunal in the Lebanon, there was an independent commission by the UN, or a UN agency, which investigated, where a lot of internationals got together, investigated the Hariri assassination. And every 6 months or so, if I'm not mistaken, a report would be prepared for the public, for transparency, so that you could follow the state of the investigation by the internationals into that unfortunate assassination. In contradistinction here, as Ina has said to you, the Marty report wasn't a criminal investigation, and what followed appears to be sealed and not available or accessible to anybody. So when proposing this, that there should be an independent investigation, I would suggest respectfully within its remit that those who do conduct this investigation consider the parallels and the similarities between the false allegations of human organ trafficking made by the Serbians against the Kosovo Liberation Army and the false allegations made by the Russians as against Ukraine. They appear to be, with respect, from exactly the same playbook. The investigation should also, I would suggest, carefully examine the circumstances alluded to earlier by the chairman of the Assembly of Kosovo. It should examine carefully the circumstances which led to the passing of the 2008 resolution, which was tabled by the Russian representative, and the lobbying modus operandi of the Russian and Serbian representatives should be closely scrutinized. Such an investigation, I would suggest, should consider whether the passing of the resolution was in fact the consequence of an elaborate, sophisticated plan to target the KLA and to undermine Kosovo as a country reputationally by disinformation and false allegations. So the second topic I'd like to move on to, I'm afraid I'm going to raise questions, and I hope these questions might encourage and stimulate some open discussion here today. I'm not going to provide answers, I'm going to ask the questions. So, was the draft Kosovo Specialist Chambers applicable law ever distributed, discussed, or debated in the Kosovo Assembly? Did the Kosovo Assembly Legal Committee ever examine the text and the content of the proposed Kosovo law back in 2015? Do you know who drafted the applicable law for this special court? Did those setting up the Kosovo Specialist Chambers ever seek to discuss or consult with them on the proposed applicable law with any of the Kosovo judiciary? Discuss it with any of the Kosovo legal academia? Or with the Kosovo civil society? Or with the Kosovo legal profession? Or the Kosovo Ministry of Justice? Or anyone? And is it right, do you think, and just, that no Kosovans or Albanians are permitted to work in this Kosovo court? Does Kosovo, the state, have any oversight at all over this Kosovo court? Is the Kosovo Specialist Chambers accountable to anyone? You may be aware that most national courts come under the purview and responsibility of the Ministry of Justice. This is rather special. And for those that are interested in the law, if they look up what's described as the foundational principles in Article 3 of the applicable law, forgive me, in Article 4, there is a section entitled Legal Personality and Capacity. And on my reading, and this is on my reading of Article 4 of the applicable law on the legal personality, it would appear to be the case that the court is literally a law unto itself. Third point, I'm going to deal with two other legal issues to help with the discussion. Does the Kosovo Specialist Chambers have a judicial seat or facility to hold parts of the court proceedings in Kosovo? I ask that because this matter was addressed in the exchange of letters and later reflected in the law, which provides that the seat may be equally in Kosovo and in The Hague. I'm going to read to you just a couple of lines from the actual, this is one of the foundational documents for the court. So it's Article 3, Foundational Principle, Paragraph 6. These specialist chambers shall, that's mandatory, have a seat in Kosovo. As provided for through an international agreement with the host state, the specialist chambers shall also have a seat in the host state outside Kosovo. That's a reference to the Netherlands and The Hague. But it may sit elsewhere on an exceptional basis if necessary in the interests of the proper administration of justice. So that last reference was to the possibility of having the court sit in another state in addition to the Netherlands and Kosovo. So, no, I've been to Kosovo quite a few times, and I don't know it as well as my friends here. I've been to Prizren, I've been to Pristina, I've been to Peja. I've never managed to find where the judicial seat of the court is in Kosovo. It must be very well hidden indeed, because I can't find it. The other point I'd like to make, finally, is in relation to another matter of law, which you might find interesting, which is to do with Article 3 of this foundational document. It's the applicable law. And I'm just going to read it to you, if I may, just one line. Paragraph 1 of Article 3. The specialist chambers shall be attached to each level of the court system in Kosovo, the basic court of Pristina, the courts of appeals, the Supreme Court, and the Constitutional Court. So my comment is, how so? What tangible, concrete, actual attachment does the Kosovo Specialist Chambers have with any of these courts in Kosovo? Again, unless they're very well hidden, I'm not aware of any attachments from the International Court in The Hague to any of these courts which it's meant to have And so the actual functioning of the KSC, unless I've missed something, does not appear to reflect one of its so-called founding principles, which is utterly misleading. They're the only points I make at this stage, and I hope that helps with the discussion.